Now the FPL season might be over, but Club World Cup is just beginning, and in today's video we're going to be running through my first draft and also talking about my chip strategy for the upcoming tournament. Now of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, especially as we are going to be producing a lot of Club World Cup content over the summer as well, with this new exciting tournament that, you know, has a fantasy game. So we're going to give it a try over the summer just to give us something to really do. Let's first off start, before we obviously dive into our draft, taking a look at the teams taking part and of course the groups. As I imagine for some people this is going to be the first time that you are looking at them. In terms of the groups we want to be targeting with, of course, our kind of first drafts, I would definitely say, you know, Group C has got some interesting matchups, especially with Bayern against Auckland City in match day one. That's definitely one I think a lot of people are, of course, going to be looking at. You've got the big boys like PSG, Atletico in Group B against Botafogo and Seattle Sounders. They definitely could do some damage there. Chelsea's group is littered and ready for the picking as well. Obviously, you imagine they're going to have quite a fruitful tournament in there as well. Inter, they've got an absolutely easy group, to be honest. They probably should be walking through it. The only thing that might potentially be a concern, of course, is the Champions League final the week before this tournament starts. Dortmund as well, with an absolutely cakewalk of a group, to be honest. City's fixtures as well, minus the Juventus fixture in match day 3, are also going to be pretty easy. Same goes with Juventus there as well. And Real Madrid, they've got themselves a pretty easy group. So you imagine a lot of the top European teams should sail through quite comfortably, to be honest. There might be a few upsets along the way, but I do think it is pretty simple and clear which teams you probably want to be targeting over the course of this group stage. In terms of the chips then, there is a slight difference from FPL. If you haven't seen any of this, make sure you're going and checking out the website, or head over to Golden Goal Fantasy Football's channel. I know he's also producing some amazing Club World Cup content over this summer. He's already done a how to play guide as well. I'll leave that in the description so you guys can go and check it out as well. But they are called boosters, not chips, so a slight difference from FPL and of course if you do play UCL Fantasy. But there is a mystery chip that will come in active once the group stages are finished. But for right now, let's just focus on what we have got. We've got a wild card, very similar. We already know what that is. We played it with FPL, we played it with UCL Fantasy, maybe you played the Euro Fantasy last year as well. Pretty much you are allowed to make unlimited transfers for that specific round, and that is your team going forward. Simple as that. We all know what a wildcard is. The 12th man is a little bit different. This chip will allow you to select one additional player to secure points for your team in a match day. So say, for example, you've got your 11 in. Obviously, you can do auto subs and stuff like that with UCL Fantasy. But if you select that one player, regardless of what happens, you can't sub him in, out, captain him, do anything like that, but he will score points for the team. So a little nifty trick, to be honest. Maybe if you've got some good players on the bench, one week you're not 100% sure who you're going to play, this chip might potentially come in handy there. Then finally, we've got the max captain chip. If you've played the EFL Fantasy game this year, you will be very, very familiar with this one. This chip will basically allow you to get double points from whichever player scores the most points in your starting 11. So you do not pick a captain for that week. All you simply do is just let it activate the chip, and whoever scores the most points, whether that be your goalkeeper, your defender, your midfielder, your striker, whoever it is, whoever scores the most points in that game is going to be your captain for the week. So a pretty nice chip, takes the kind of pressure off with captaincy, especially if there's a lot of good captaincy options, maybe particularly on one day that you're a little bit unsure of. I think this chip could be very, very useful. In terms of my chip strategy then, now we've gone through the chips, this is currently what I am going to be looking at. So I'm going to play the wildcard in game week 3, the final group stage game, because what we get there is we get unlimited transfers in the round of 16, so we can rebuild our team heading into the knockout stages of this tournament. But the reason I want to do it there is basically I'm going to use it as pretty much a free hit, to be honest. And this is what I did in the Euro Fantasy game as well. I'm going to use match day 1 and 2 to play my other chips, the 12th man, the maximum captain. And the reason for this is because these are probably going to be some of the highest scoring games we're going to get in the competition. You look at some of the matchups, like the games that Dortmund have got, the games that Chelsea have got, there could be some big mega hauls from those teams and from those players as well. So I think the best utilization of these chips is, of course, going to be playing it in these rounds, because as we saw with a lot of the groups, you can quite comfortably probably predict which teams are going to get through. Then it's kind of big teams against big teams, and that's not really where you want to be playing, you know, your max captain, your 12th man, because there'll be a lot less points on offer. I did this in the Euros last year. It worked absolutely wonders for me. I'm going to do it again. And the reason I'm going to play the wildcard in match day 3, again, is just to get as many of those delicious, tasty fixtures as possible heading into the final game. I think that's probably the best way to play it, and that is the way that I am going to play my chip strategy this week. So game week 3, we're going to go for the wild card. Then I've not really decided whether or not we're going to play the 12th man or the maximum captain chip in game week 1 or game week 2. We'll have a look at which team maybe looks a little bit better. I've obviously got my plans set out for game week 1, but obviously game week 2 is still a little bit up in the air, so maybe that's where we'll use the 12th man. Then of course we do get that mystery chip later in the tournament, so you might as well use all your chips in the group stage. Like I said, the games get a lot more tougher as you do progress. But I think you can pretty much navigate which teams you probably think are going to get through, which ones are not, and not need that wild card in the back pocket. Of course, you could just play, your early door chips, save the wild card till afterwards. But I think with us getting a hard reset in round of 16 anyway, I don't think it's too much of a big deal in my personal opinion. And like I said, I just want to target as many of those easy fixtures in the group stage where I do believe there could be maximum scores for a lot of players. I think that is probably going to be the chip strategy that I'm going to go for in this tournament. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into my team selection then. Starting off first with our goalkeepers. Now, I've gone for a pretty much just non-playing goalkeeper in the 4 million position, because if you actually look at the prices of the goalkeepers in this game, they are extortionate. There are no goalkeepers that I could find, playing goalkeepers at least, under 5 million. So you're going to have to spend, if you want 2 of them, 10 million plus on 2 playing goalkeepers. Just seems like a bit of a waste, considering goalkeepers have got such limited upside. Their match scores most game weeks are probably only going to be around 6 points anyway, if they keep a clean sheet, maybe if they make some saves, but I just really can't see the upside in spending that extra kind of million on another goalkeeper. I'd rather have a stronger outfield playing squad. And the goalkeeper that we selected at the moment is also technically a non-playing goalkeeper right now. It's Perrin. He's currently the second choice goalkeeper at Juventus, but De Gregor's contract, he's only on loan, and his loan finishes at the end of the season. So I'm going to have to wait and see whether or not De Gregor is actually going with Juventus to this tournament, and whether or not Juventus are actually going to sign another goalkeeper, or Perrin is going to be the playing goalkeeper for this tournament. Because if he is, he's got 2 absolutely amazing fixtures, as you can see on screen right now. They've got Al Allen in the first game and then Casablanca in the second game. You would imagine they're probably favourites to go and keep 2 clean sheets there with those fixtures. So I like both of those that they have, of course, got selected heading into that week. But of course, it does depend whether or not he is going to be first choice. If he's not, we are going to have to do a little bit more rejigging with the side. Moving into the defence, we're going to start off first with Hakimi. Now, it's not the greatest fixture in match day 1 with Atletico Madrid, but considering his high ownership and how good he's been in the Champions League and Ligue 1 this season, I definitely think he's just one of those players that, regardless of the fixture, we're still going to have him in there. 47 games for him this season, 8 goals, 12 assists. The only concern I do have is there might be a little bit of Champions League hangover, with of course that being the previous week. So if they go and win it, maybe they give their players a little bit of time off, maybe they don't rush them back for this tournament. But I do think with the prize money available in this tournament, they definitely will be considering playing full strength sides heading into the group fixtures. And obviously this one will be a big decider to see who tops this group as well. But with those numbers that he's been putting up this season, definitely one of the players I want to go for. Next up, we got Mohamed Hani. Now, if you're like me, you've never heard of this guy, neither have I. They've got 2 pretty decent opening fixtures, I would say, to be honest. They've got Inter Miami in the first game. Then they've got Palmeiras in the second game. If they've got any chance of probably getting through, they need a result before they go and play Porto in the final game of this group stage. Like I said, he's just a 4.3 million defender. I was just looking for a cheap option, to be honest. Still on the hunt to find that perfect cheap defender. For now, he's probably a little bit just of a placeholder at 4.3 million, and we might need to drop even further to potentially a 4.1 or 4 million defender, of course, if we find out news that Perrin isn't going to be the first choice goalkeeper for this tournament as well. Next up is a man, again, could have that little bit of Champions League hangover, but as we saw with the Inter fixtures, they are looking stupendous across the opening group stages. 11 goals, 5 assists in some absolutely heroic scenes from him in the Champions League campaign this season. So Denzel Dumfries, very, very easy pickup. On the bench, we've got Rayson with Dortmund's easy group, to be honest. I'm pretty much going to be going triple Dortmund across the board here, but Rayson, marks our first one. 2 goals, 3 assists in a wing-back role. Played 29 games this season and has been featuring quite a lot towards the end of the season. Gvardiol's in here as well. Back to his attacking left-back role over the past few weeks for Manchester City. Not kind of come to the fruition in terms of attacking returns, but I definitely think they will return with him in this kind of more left wing-back attacking role that we've known him to play with FPL for the past few seasons. Again, their hardest fixture comes in matchday 3 against Juventus. And with my chip strategy, with me wildcard in that week, I don't have to worry too much about, of course, him being a worry for that one. Next up is going to be Palmer. Like I said, Chelsea have probably got some of the easiest fixtures. Currently has him as a blank, but there is a playoff taking place next week. And I believe it's Los Angeles and maybe Club America that are in that. It's definitely Los Angeles FC. I can't remember if it's Club America that are the other team that will be playing in that one, but again, that's a pretty easy fixture for Cole Palmer and Chelsea across the board. Still, despite a disappointing season, 24 goal involvements, which is very decent. And I think he could be a really good captain in this tournament as well, to be honest, with, of course, him being the penalty taker and stuff like that. And, of course, like I said, those really easy fixtures across the board. Next up is Julian Brandt. Finished the season absolutely on fire for Dortmund. 6 goal involvements in his final 4 games of the campaign. Again, with those easy fixtures, I just think he's a nice, cheap option at 6.5 that you could really, really attack heading into the opening 2 and even the opening 3 games, to be honest. But I think with Dortmund, they're probably going to be through after the opening 2 games, so there might be a bit of rotation there anyway. Moving into our final 2 midfielders within the starting 11, and these two are going to be my cheap kind of differentials that I think a lot of you should potentially be looking at, because the pricing in this game, it is extremely difficult to find the right balance, but I do believe we've done so with these 2 players. Starting off first with Matastuno? Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I've probably absolutely butchered it. Anyway, he plays for River Plate. And the reason that I like him, he's coming in at 4.3 million. 8 goal involvements in his past 12 games as well, which is absolutely ridiculous to see. Real Madrid apparently looking at this young man as well, and he could be a real bright talent for the future. Only 17, and you do feel like this tournament, he potentially could rip it up, get that kind of Real Madrid move, or potentially another big move in Europe with a solid performance here as well. But as you can see, has been ripping it up out in Argentina. Same goes with Mora as well. He's an 18-year-old lad at 4.2 million. 14 goal involvements in 23 games this season, and has seen good minutes towards the back end of this campaign for Porto. So again, these 2 as my cheap options that have potentially huge upsides as well. Obviously want to impress on the big stage. They're putting in decent performances. They're young lads. They'll be ready. They just want to play games, and they've got plenty of goal involvements as well heading into this season. Our final midfielder is going to be Çalhanoğlu. 11 goal involvements in 29 games for him into this season. Of course, there might be, some of that fatigue, hangover potentially. Maybe they give him a little bit of time off after the Champions League final. That is my only concern. His minutes as of kind of the end of the season have been a little bit more sparse, but with him being a penalty taker and those interfixtures looking so succulent, he is definitely a player I do want to consider, but obviously we're leaving that door wide open for potentially other players. Finishing up then, let's head into our front line, starting off first with Guirassy, who I can't believe is only 16% owned at the time of me recording this. An absolutely wonderful UCL campaign and in the Bundesliga as well. 34 goals, 6 assists. Let me just bring up the Dortmund fixtures for you to see what you're going to be playing with. Look at that. Fluminense in the opening game, Sundowns in the second game, and then Uslan HD in the final game as well. There's not too much travelling as well between 2 and 3 either, so you don't really have to worry about jet lag. But honestly, those 2 games here, and even the Fluminense one, could be mega scores for Guirassy and for Dortmund as well. That's why I've gone for the triple up of Dortmund early doors in this tournament. Next up, it is going to be Mbappe, going to be under new management, of course, but a pretty prolific season for him, despite, of course, no major silverware. 41 goal involvements, 5 assists. Again, the Real Madrid group, as you can see from the fixtures here. Al Hilal, then they've got Pachuca, then Salzburg, who have been absolutely woeful this season. So if the group is still relying on this final game, of course, he'll be a pretty decent option. Again, the reason I prefer him over Vinicius as well is he does have penalties, and that is one of the main factors I always look for with my players in any sort of fantasy game. Then finishing up, it is going to be Harry Kane. Now, the reason I've gone for Harry Kane, say maybe over a Messi, there were some other players, Martinez. The reason I've gone for Kane is this opening fixture against Auckland City in match day 1. I think this makes him the best captain across the whole of match day 1 for me personally. They currently heading into the tournament have the highest odds of winning it. They're like 1,200 to 1 to win the tournament, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think the next highest team is maybe like 900. So that really says where the bookmakers value Auckland as a side. And I think Kane could go on one of those monster mega hauls that we've seen from him in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga this season with, of course, 38 goals, 11 assists to his name. So like I said, I think he's probably going to be my number 1 captain slot for this week. I'm undecided what we want to do in terms of the chip strategy. Maybe we play the 12th man in this one, but I don't really see any kind of bench players that I'm overly happy to kind of give that chip to. Maybe Çalhanoğlu definitely confirms him in the side with the others. But yeah, like I said, I'm not overly convinced by the chip, that one. So maybe it is going to be the max captain chip. Of course, I think Kane is going to be the best captain, but maybe Guirassy goes out and pulls a masterclass. Maybe one of the defenders as well, Denzel Dumfries, can do something. Maybe Cole Palmer. So we've got some decent captaincy options. So it does take that worry away from us in match day 1 if we were to play that chip. That is my first draft. Of course, if you are planning on playing CWC Fantasy or Club World Cup Fantasy, there is a kind of floating above my head at some points. There has been a league code. I will leave the link in the description to go and check that out as well if you do want to go and check it out for yourself. But overall, I'm really looking forward to this campaign. I'm really looking forward to this game as well. So make sure you're liking, commenting and subscribing. Let me know how you're getting on with your team. But good luck in match day 1.